In typical John fashion, actually atypical John fashion, because I'm usually pretty on point with things, I have headshots. I should be getting in my car in 10 minutes. I only just showered, did my hair, and I'm starting to put my clothes together now, because I'm in Hell Week for my show, and it's opening night, so I'm a little exhausted, and I play the piano to calm down. For f***'s sake, just zip, zip, come on. Jams of the day are ZZ Ward, and I am 11 minutes early, which means I'm 11 minute on time! So, there's a little chaos today, opening night. Also, vlogging in public. I'm not talking because there's an employee right there. Yeah, it was definitely chaos today because I forgot my black hoodie at home after my headshot session. And Isabel was very calm. Like, I mean, if you think you can get it, go ahead. I mean, we're gonna start the show at 7:30, so yeah, I got it in time. Oh, I still have my eyebrows on from the show. It's really weird for me to have eyebrows, and I'm blondish, but my hair is darker than Carson's, so f Carson for having amazing eyebrows and blonde hair. Why couldn't I have that? Oh, the irony that I'm looking for peanuts after the show about the peanuts. So I'm in Safeway to get food because I need to have enough energy to finish my night job, and then co-host a live chat with my agent tomorrow for our entire roster, as well as everyone that follows our public Facebook page. Not gonna lie, I wish that I would have been able to be more emotionally invested in the combat scene with Matt. However, I kind of choked out one line by mistake instead of how I normally deliver it, and I accidentally made him cry a little bit in it, so hopefully that worked for him. 2 more shows. Oh, wait, my friends Ryan and Forrest came to see the show. Forrest is the one that lent me his keyboard to use for the show. And then I dropped them off after the show. And it was really nice to have friends come see it. And James, who I work with at my restaurant, and his wife came to see the show. And I feel bad I didn't stay and talk probably as long as they wanted to talk. But it's like, I'm going to my night job, so I'm also not good at talking to people after shows. Because you just don't know what to say. You have to accept their love. Yeah, I left my phone on stage by mistake before the show started in the house. So I had to go retrieve that after our first scene change. So you missed all the pre-show rituals, aka shout, screaming, smash mouth in the men's room. And Evelyn puked in the bathroom today, but I gave her water. We're gonna briefly recap the last 12-ish hours. We had our second show, and then I went straight from the show to my night job and was crying a little bit because I accidentally took some of the show with me. And I got out of my system. We had a cast party Friday night because we have to tear down after a show tonight, and some people are gonna be out of town the next day. And everyone was very weird. Everyone got really weird before I got there, and there's a very fascinating evening. Strange to be at a college party again. We'll not divulge too much about what happened last night. Everything stayed above the belt. We'll say that much. Got up about 6 a.m. and I got a text message from my mom along with a photo that our Beagle Bailey died this morning. They had to put him down, that he had a stroke. I finally woke up a little bit, and the gravity of my dog dying hit me again, and thankfully Erin, who plays CB's sister, reached out. It's like, does anybody want to get brunch today? And I'm like, thank God, yes, I'll have brunch. So me, Erin, and Carson had brunch together, which is fun because, you know, we had dinner before our promo event as well, and that definitely helped lift my spirits again. We talked a lot about the industry and professional side of acting, and then a lot about some crazy experiences we've had. And they're telling me about this really fascinating show called Mr. Burns, which I have to look up. But that's definitely lifted my spirits. And tonight for the show, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I might break at some inappropriate times, at times that don't make sense for my character, just because the whole show is about a dead beagle, and my beagle just died. I'm gonna try my best to be present. but I'm willing to accept what's going to happen to me on stage. I'm just going to try to be very honest about it. I have to finish assembling the stage manager's gifts, and we're working on getting our director's gift today as well. So, in the men's dressing room, we just started our run, did my first 2 scenes, which are 3 and 4, and next is the Viper's Nest, which is probably the biggest scene in the show for me. Hello world, welcome to Beethoven's blog, the show where I talk about my boring... I'm just kidding, we're not doing that. So I think it's time to kind of debrief on this experience. This show has always moved me emotionally, but I did not understand how incredibly difficult it was going to be in this show. This experience became kind of like an incredible sort of group therapy where we were able to be nurturing to one another's wounds in a way. We've all kind of been honest with each other about some of the dark places that we've been and how that informs some of the choices that we've made for our characters. I didn't feel like I was in a play once, and I felt, I think, very naked. I think that's the word I would use. What changed though for me was that Sid, our director, told us, or what he asked us was, do you think that CB and Beethoven are in love? And my answer was that when you're so young, everything feels like the end of the world to you. So my thought was they were just there comforting each other at a moment where they both felt very alone and wounded. When our intimacy coach Sarah Goff came in, she was saying that she felt like they were in love, and that shifted how I decided to do this character. Whereas he was really kind of snarky and short and defensive and maybe a little bit mean, I decided to let him experience the beautiful side of falling in love with somebody. Then today, closing night, this whole play starts when CB's Beagle dies. Our Beagle had to be put down. Bailey, who died earlier today. My mom told me that how it happened was that she took him to the vet for this, and there was a woman there that said, asked if you'd like to give him some canned dog food. So Bailey got to have some food before he went into on the table. My mom stayed in the room with Bailey, and she said that she had her face to his face, like her head to his head, as it was happening, and she said that it was very quick. There's so much peace in what happened, and obviously you could be sad, but I'm glad that that I feel like he had a very comforting experience leaving this world. He was very emotionally supportive in some really hard times growing up, like coming out of the closet. And when I was taking care of my sick aunt, there was a time when I was in the hospital, and you know, Bailey would just be very tender like a lamb, and could kind of read the room and would just be there with you, and he never lost his personality the whole time, because his personality was hungry. I'm sorry. The show came to me at a very strange point in my life, and in a way it made me ask for help and decide that I wanted to go to therapy so that I wouldn't feel so ashamed about something that wasn't my fault. I'm very thankful for the group of people that I met through this experience. There's something very fascinating about all of them to me. And thankfully everyone really embraced the book of positivity, where it would be something that we would read either before or after rehearsal. It was very uplifting to hear 8 different perspectives of how they all thought of me. It was very validating in a good way, because all I've ever wanted to be in my life is a good man, and that's what they all said, essentially. So this is becoming weirdly personal. One thing I did learn about myself is that I really need to get into a combat class because I suck at falling. I'm glad that I didn't accidentally hit the buttons on there that play disco music, but I didn't really catch myself right, so when I was wiping my black eye off later on, I saw these little red indents on my head, which are from me being an idiot and hitting my head on the keyboard. A respondent, 2 respondents actually, came to watch the show and then give feedback. Actually, our intimacy coach became a respondent. Originally, I think it was supposed to be her husband, and then it wasn't. And since she had been involved with blocking some of our stuff, she had another person come in with her to piggyback on some other stuff. And, oh, I should probably just get the notes. I think that they articulated things so well. What they did first was they went through all the actors. At first it was generally about casting, and she's saying that everybody was spot on with their characters, which is a very rewarding thing to hear. And she was specifically saying the acting and the casting and the piano. She's saying someone that can actually play the piano and like do it well. And I was like, oh, thank God I tricked them. I've only been doing it for 2 months. It said stellar, that's the word that we got, so I wrote a smiley face next to it. My psychophysical connection with the character. She was saying that I fit into his skin, and I think that's probably a very articulate way of explaining how this didn't feel like acting for me. I felt very naked this whole time. She liked the joy that my character had before his assault. She liked the... It says innocence, I don't really remember. She liked how me and the character of CB were listening and responding to one another, which is one of those things where you hear that quite frequently with acting, and I don't think it ever really sunk in my head until she was talking about it at our rehearsal last Saturday. She was saying the intimacy was very authentic. All credit to Sarah. We 2 actors that were doing those scenes were just very eager to tell a story and to do it justice. It was a note for somebody else, but it was saying to highlight punctuation in our scripts because that's so important. They said the fight choreo was very good, which fooled you because I accidentally really hit my head on the piano today. And then I really need to learn how to fall better and like roll and absorb the impact the long way. But the problem is I get thrown on the floor and I have to land on top of this orange extension cord that just kept leaving a bruise on my leg and on my thigh. Those were the critiques. And Bethany has very much inspired me through this whole process. She's the actress that was Van's sister. And I've been writing a lot of poetry these last 2 months. I wrote poems about all the characters, and I was just, I feel so inspired by both her positivity and like about poetry. And I haven't been passionate about poetry since I was in like elementary school. And we had our last kind of moment all together. We all went to the makeup room, and Sean, who is Van in the show, was the last person to fill out the book of positive affirmations. That's what it became. And
well, it was an audiobook recorded for Harry Potter by someone who read a Wikipedia synopsis of Harry Potter and then extrapolated from that. Anyway, Molly, your quote is from the Lady Gaga song Paparazzi. It's, you know, I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me. So you were the first person to talk to me at auditions, and I imprinted on you like a duck whose mother was like brutally slaughtered and like found a cat to nurse her. I chose your quote to reflect how much I'm in love with you and the fact that I'm always rooting for you, and I have been since the beginning. Evelyn. Hold on, I need to do the voice of the audiobook. And then Hagar said, "Hey kid, you like flying motorcycles?" "Anything's better than crawling," Harry replied. I chose your quote to reflect how people can say the most banal, basic statements, and you'll be able to extrapolate the wildest shit from it within a matter of seconds. You're the funniest person I know, and we are truly the same soul, born to different circumstances.
Like sister wives. That's not how that works.
Those are born to the exact same circumstances.
Guys, look at my makeup for a hot sec.
But, you know I love you, and you know that, like,
Me too. Just kidding.
You resonate a lot with me, and I think it's because we have the same exact, like, multiple choice list of ailments. The Swiss Army knife of bullshit. Isabel, I chose a Stephen King quote for you. Sometimes there is no difference between salvation and damnation. I chose your quote because it refers to the shifting perspectives of one of his characters in the book, in a book of his that I'm sure I wrote down the title, but my hand really started cramping here real early on. You were our salvation coming into this show, and it must have been like your hell. We all knew each other, and we had all been doing shit our way, and you're like, no, I'm driving this van. Your quiet sense of humor becomes you, and frankly, your sense of humor should be a bit louder, because every time I hear you mutter something under your breath, it is f***ing hilarious. Aaron, I chose our song. Sid had us explore our character relationships from
Video games?
Yeah, Video Games by Lana Del Rey. And referring to all the work that we have put into this show. Everything I do, I tell you on the time, heaven is a place on earth with you. This song has now been tainted with your energy forever. And if I listen to it, I will associate with you. Associate every lyric with you. And just that intense synth sound is now steeped in your essence. You've become a really good friend, and I wouldn't have traded our time together for the world. I hope that we continue going on our 3-hour Sonic dates. Denny, yours is a Mark Twain quote. But who prays for Satan? Who in 18 centuries has had the common humanity to pray for the one sinner who needs it most? This was chosen to reflect the depth of the character that, like, you chose to imbue Matt with, because, like Sarah was saying, he could have been a real, like, one-note bully. He could have been half-assed, very, like, people often blame, like, racism and homophobia. Oh, they're dumb, they're uneducated. That's just who they are. You could have played him like an idiot who's a bigot, but you didn't. You played him as a person who was, like, genuinely feeling, like, very, very attacked and very, like, you were being exposed to your own vulnerabilities through this process. And I'm just very impressed with you as an actor. I also wrote, the best part about your character is that every second that you aren't on stage being cruel, you come back here and you're infecting others with your smile, and you become everyone's best friend.
All those hugs.
True.
All those hugs.
Is it
necessary?
Is it not true? Denny just starts smiling, and you know that at the
I
energy,
like the mushy stuff.
energy changes when you're happy. Ruby, your quote is from an Elton John song.
Of course it is.
How wonderful life is. Now you're in our world. You enrich our lives just by being in them. You make yourself vulnerable when we're vulnerable, and you're always there for us when we need you. And you know too much of my shit, and if it leaks out, I will know it's you, and you better watch yourself. Sid isn't here, but I chose a quote from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Curiously enough, the only thing that went through the mind of that pot of petunias as it fell through the sky was, oh no, not again. You've watched us screw up time and time again, and you've been willing to give us the same notes for projection. No matter how many times I have opted to ignore them. You are our common thread, and I thank you for choosing this piece. Carson, yours is from a Stephen Moffat script from Coupling. Well, 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 look what the talent dragged in.
Aww.
You carry this show on your shoulders as if you are Atlas yourself. You make our jobs look easy. Your talent is without bounds, and I know that we're all looking forward to seeing what you do after this. You are intimidating as hell, especially upon learning that you've only been doing this really since you got to Gonzaga, and it was just sort of like a, yeah, I'll do theater, which is like pants like that is, do not record this. I will not have any of that nonsense. John, yours, you can record it if you really want. It's okay. You genuine I take it all back. I was going to
Fine, it's there.
You can record it. Stop. Record. Anyway, yours, I'm not going to tell you the whole thing. I just wrote it down abridged just because, like, it's literally the title of a Brothers Grimm fairy tale called The Emperor and the Shepherd's Boy. He asks, how many stars are there in the sky, how many rocks are there in the sea, and how many seconds are in eternity? It was a way of him. He had no natural heir, and he was trying to decide who in his kingdom was wise enough to lead them away from a path of war to a place of peace and kindness, who had the willpower to choose decency, basically. And he answered all of the questions in answering one question. The Diamond Mountain, it takes an hour to climb it and an hour to go around it, and every few hundred years, the same little bird comes and it sharpens its beak on the Diamond Mountain. And you can choose to admire the tenacity of the Diamond Mountain to hold up after all of those centuries, after all of those millennia. But after everything that you've told us, I liken you more to that bird where no matter what you go through, you're always there, continuing to chip away and continuing to persist through it. And I couldn't write all that down because it was very long. Bethany, who is right here next to me. Yours is a quote from a novel called World Enough in Time. Because it's right, because it's decent, and because it's kind. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. Your pacifism knows no bounds, and your words are always so delicately crafted. They will end wars one day. You really reeled us in when we were all really at a pretty exhausted point with this show, and I really admired that about you. The fact that you were like, guys, ground yourselves. Yeah, it's a big deal, but also you need to choose to be. You need to choose selflessness, and you need to choose what is best for everyone. And in choosing the best for everyone, you have forced us to do that as well, and it has enriched us as a cast, and it has actually taken this show to a new level to where we did start enjoying it again after a while where we were just pretty tired, and I really appreciate that about you. Your freshness to the theater scene does not show in any way, and we're all blown away by your talent, and I'm really glad that you accepted this role.
Thanks.
And I'm so proud of the work that you have done.
Thank you.
And that's it. That is the book.
It's rad. Did it.
We-
Love
So we're
everybody.
doing like a time capsule thing?
We're going
Bury
to...
it in my ass.
I was
No.
going to say, the
I had a
first of
different
us to
plan.
die, it is going to be buried in our coffin.
I think we
Isabel
should
has
give it
a
to
plan.
John.
What was the plan?
It was John's.
Take it and then I'll like write some stuff in it and then make copies and send them to all of your addresses if you'll tell me them.
Oh.
Stalker want to do.
You didn't write no words.
I want it. You gotta deliver
Well,
it
like,
in
after
person.
doesn't
Then you
message
should
to
get a
us.
P.O. box. Okay, are we dismissed?
Afterwards, we all ended in that group hug, and I ruined the moment on purpose by starting, "Somebody once told me the world," and everyone was just like mad, and I was like, yeah, but that's what I meant to do. Aaron was saying you're not allowed to say goodbye, you have to say I'll see you later. Denny, what he would frequently do is go to the parking lot, start his car and let it heat up on its own and then wait outside. So the two of us were talking for a bit, and then Sean eventually emerges from the Magnuson Theater, and then we three are standing like king of the hill where they're drinking the beer, but we're just in a circle talking about our experience because we were the three guys that were not students at Gonzaga. I'm very thankful I got to know the two of them. I've been ranting for such a long time. Sorry, I just have a lot of feelings, as they say in Mean Girls. Life is just so much better when you choose to be kind to other people. Carson wrote a very sweet note for all the actors, and then I got a card from Sid, and he was afraid that he was being mean to me earlier in the week, whereas he wasn't. I was just being unreasonably defensive of he was going to cut Revolutionary Etude from the show, and that was going to wound me because I had spent so much time working on that so hard that I was going to feel so defeated if it was not being played in the show. Yeah, Sid, I mean, if you're watching this, you weren't being mean to me. My friend Nancy and old movie bud Isaiah came to see the show today, as did Kimber, who was the lead actress in my movie this summer. We did our teardown today, which is pretty easy because we just had blocks. I took the keyboard home, and now I'm very hungry, so I'm gonna make a pizza. You have to continue to support the people that you care about, especially in their artistic endeavors. I'm gonna continue to go to the events that Bethany invites me to. She was very sweet today in sending me a song that she'd written for her late grandmother when she had passed away, and she did that because my dog died today, and everyone was very sweet about that. And Molly's always checking in on me backstage and wiping my tears. Gosh, I've been talking for half an hour. Thanks for watching, and I don't know what the next gig is. The next time I'm Blue Theater, we shall see. But hopefully it is just as rewarding, and I meet people that are just as incredible as the ones I met from this one. Okay. Until next time.
You know they say that a dog sees God in his master.
Bailey.